off the mill or run of the mill individual. I'm a representative of power. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
I represent power. And if you remember, Joseph himself said, he said, because I fear power. Now you have to understand, they did not serve Abba Yahuwah and Mitzrayim.
That's right.
But he did, and they knew he did. Now this is important too. Just because you work in a system that does not believe Abba Yahuwah does not mean now you change your way. The reason he got the position is because they understood who he represented and who he lived for.
Right.
And this is why he was able to do what he did. You have to understand, just because I wear clothes that are made in America, just because I live in America doesn't mean that I have to succumb to America's ways. Because if they are ever going to respect us, they got to see something worthwhile respecting.
Right.
They got to be able to see power. They got to be able to see solutions. They got to be able to say, hey, if you call on them, I guarantee you they will tell you what you need to do. Are you following me?
Yeah.
This is important for us to understand. We've got to be able to understand what belongs to us and what belongs to us as a people, and then what branches out for everybody to be able to benefit from. And this is the position that Joseph was in. It was not just for Yasharal, but I will say it was for us first. And then for everybody else. And so this is important that we understand the position he was in. So Yaakov said, okay, we're going to take this young man a present. Let him know who we represent. Let him know who we are. And he said, yes, you can take him. He said, go ahead and take him. But you have to understand something. That is something to put a person in. And once again, I'm truly believing that Joseph had no idea the condition of his Abba. And to ask that, I'm sure that in his mind, he didn't believe that it was the way it was. He didn't believe that because he didn't know. He hadn't been there. Remember, he wasn't there. And so he didn't know what was going on. Now, listen what it says. And he says, and it came to pass when we came to the lodging place. That was that part. Now, let's look over here. And he gave their when he gave them the spices and the almonds. Now listen what he says, and take double money in your hand, and that which was returned in the mouth of your sack to carry. So how many pieces of silver did they already have? 30, right? Was something like 30?
Yes.
So if they took a double, that meant 60. So that meant 90, right?
Yes. Yes.
That was 90 pieces, and there was 10 of them. So 90 times 10 is what? So they took 900 shekels or 900 silver pieces. He said, double it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
They weren't hurting for money.
Right.
So when they took it, he's like, hey, go ahead and take this on down and do this here. So we can let him know we are not spies. We don't have to come and steal from you. We are here because there is a famine. So you have to understand there's a way to deal with people,
Right.
So that you can get their attention, so that they can know your intentions are right. Are you following?
Yes.
Excuse me. And he says, take also your brother and rise, go again unto the man. And power give you mercy before the man, that he may release you, your other brother and Benjamin. And as for me, if I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. That's something to say. You have to understand. That's where you had when you say, I gotta. This is where he had to man up. In other words, are you hearing me?
Yes.
He had to make up in his mind. It is something that is necessary, and I have to do this. And I believe this is where he had to pull on the strength of Abba Yahuwah. Because you have to understand, in his mind, I know you didn't make me or tell me I'm going to be the Abba of many, and then my family just starts, dropping off like flies. So we have to understand that, and I'm sure in his heart of hearts, he probably said, now, there's no way I can do all this, and these things are happening. Are y'all understanding me?
Yes.
So we have to be able to look into this and look deeper into it and see, once again, we're going to have issues. We're going to have mishpachah issues. But it's how we deal with those issues determine whether or not we're going to have the victory. It does. It determines how we deal with it. And so it is important. And he came to grips and said it's going to be what it is. And the men took that present, they took double money in their hand and Benjamin, and rose up and went down to Mitzrayim and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, bring the men into the house and kill the beast and prepare the meat. Now, this is another thing we need to look at. Why do you think he said kill the beast and prepare the meat? Because they were what? Meat eaters. They were not vegans.
Right.
They were not vegetarians. They ate meat.
That's right.
And he knew they ate meat. And watch this. And those that were his servants knew that they ate meat.
Right. That's right.
He didn't sit up there and say, prepare them the finest salad. Go out there and prepare them, the best fruit. He said, go in there and kill the beast. Kill that what they eat. A lamb or a goat. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
A doe or roe, whatever. We know it wasn't a pig, but we do know they ate meat.
That's right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I heard someone say that eating meat was more of a religious thing. Was more of a religious thing. See, this is why when we start talking about our culture, it is very important that we understand the right culture and where our culture stems from.
That's right.
Many people believe that our people started out as vegans. I have read where people said that the European people are the ones that introduced us to meat. And this is why we eat meat, because they introduced us to meat, but we were vegans in the beginning. Well, from what I'm reading, I don't see where we were vegans from in the beginning. And truth be told, even when we read in creation and we read about Hawa and Adam, they messed up really bad. But when you realize even afterwards, after they had children, they still had to bring an offering, and that offering was what? Meat. Mm-hmm. So you have to understand whatever you offer, you partake of. Excuse me. So it's important that we understand. So when we get to talking about culture and we get to talking about meat and we get to talking about these things, it is very important that we understand where did these things come from.
That's right.
Where did it come from? And so it is important that we understand these things. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So it's important we understand they were not vegans. They ate meat. And you have to understand also, when it comes down to it, people that eat are people that have digestive systems and they do these things. Are you hearing me? We have to understand meat is not a bad thing.
That's right.
We listen, and people get that mentality. Well, meat is dirty. It's dirty. Meat is dirty. You don't eat meat. Meat is bad. It's bad. You start thinking, why? This is because this is what we were told.
Right.
And then once again, I've said and I'll continue to say it. No, we don't eat it bloody. And once again, meat in itself does not have blood in it. Mm-hmm. Blood comes from the blood vessels. Blood vessels run through the body. It does not run into the meat. The way the meat is contaminated with blood is how you dress it. If you don't know how to dress it, don't dress it, because you can mess up meat if you don't know what you're doing.
That's right.
If you don't know how to dress a deer, you don't know how to dress any type of animal that has blood in it, you're going to contaminate that meat.
That's right.
And this is why if you go to the store and you buy stuff and you see meat bruised real bad, it's because that's how the blood gets into the flesh, because it's bruised, because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And that's the truth. So it's important that we understand that when they ate, they knew how to cut along the joints. They knew how to separate that meat to make sure that the blood vessels would not be disturbed. And there is a way you can cut it, and there's a way you can take it out of there. Well, you don't even have to worry about it being in there.
Right.
It's important we understand that. So these are things that we need to understand. Excuse me. So that we don't be saying, well, we have to eat vegetables because they're better for you. And like I say, once again, we have to understand our culture and where our culture comes from, and not just grab somebody's culture because it sounds right. And, because we feel like, well, eating meat, because meat builds mucus in your body. Your body is going to have a level of mucus in it anyway.
Yeah.
it's going to have a level of mucus in it. And the important thing is understanding how to balance that mucus. Are you following me?
Yes.
Anything you eat, just like you get rid of waste in your body, anything you eat is going to cause a buildup. And this is why we have to make sure we're drinking the right things. Number one, plenty of water. Spring water is the best water you could ever drink. Spring water. Spring water is the best water you can ever drink. If you want to make alkaline water, the best way to make your own alkaline water is spring water and Himalayan salt. That's the best way to make alkaline water. Are you hearing me? Because you know what you're putting in your water. Spring water. Distilled water is not that well. It's not. It's really not great for your body at all. And know the type of spring water you're getting. And so this is very important for us to understand. Why? Because this is what our body needs. And people say, well, you know, we don't need all that meat and you don't have to eat meat. And then they want to put up, you eating 3 types of meat and we have all these vegetables. I'm like, I don't know where you eat from, but I eat more than 3 types of meat. And pork is not one of them. And neither is catfish and any bottom feeders. But we have a variety of things that we can indulge in. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We just got to stop falling behind foolishness. And I look at this. If you want to be a vegan, you be a vegan, but don't make it a doctrine.
That's right.
Because it is not in the writings that it is a doctrine. That is what you want to eat, then you be that vegan. But my writings tell me in Wayikra chapter 11 what I can eat and what I can't eat.
That's right.
So it's important we understand that. But he said, bring the men into the house and kill the beasts and prepare the meat. For the men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. So they did this, and they enjoyed it. He fed them what they were accustomed to what? Eating meat. So it's important we understand that. Very important that we understand the stuff we eat. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, and so in verse 18, and the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time, are we brought in that we may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and our asses. That sounds so crazy together. It does. It sounds so crazy, but they're talking about their animals, but the way it's worded is like, you know, our butts are in trouble. But they were afraid that they were going to take everything. Now, mind you, once again, whenever we have things that we have done to hurt someone, or we have trespassed against someone, that fear and that stigma will always be over your head. You know how this is why people that sell drugs and people that are in that, you know, gang banging and, you know, people in that, I'm gonna get you before you get me, because they know they've done something. And so in order to make sure it never comes back to them, they always are on edge.
Right.
Always on edge. They're always, you know, I can't stay here too long because, you know, I got people after me. You know, I can't do this too long because I got this one after me. I can't do that too long because this, that, and the other. And when you understand, you know what, as long as I know what I did to somebody else and didn't make amends with that, I'm going to forever have something like that over me. So I always have to be on pins and needles, and I always have to have the mentality, if I don't get them, they're going to get me.
Right.
That's not the way we want to live. That's not the way you want to live, because that's unhealthy, and then you have no shalom. Mm-hmm. That's why people sleep, you know, guns under their pillows, and, you know, sleep on, you know, what was that? You know, especially people that are thieves. They sleep like that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because it's like, hey, somebody may break in. I wonder why you afraid somebody gonna break into your stuff. Oh, because you done broke in and stole other people's stuff. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Especially when you know you hurt somebody, you always on alert, so don't nobody hurt you. This is why we have to be careful of our actions and deeds. Do unto others as you would what?
Do unto yourself.
Say it again.
Do unto yourself.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So you want them to do unto you as you would do unto them. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. You don't want to hurt somebody and then turn around, because the pay for it is double, sometimes triple. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important we understand those things, and it is so.
And it is so.
All right, now once again, so they go into and explain, and they, excuse me, talk of this, and when we look in verse 23, and he said, "Shalom be unto you. Fear not your power, and the power of your Abba hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money," and he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet. And he gave their asses provender, and they made ready the presents against Joseph's coming at noon. For they heard that they should eat bread there. And so when it said they would eat bread there, in other words, they were getting ready to eat their meal there. And so very important for us to understand the makeup and understand that which was taking place. Once again, you have to understand the healing process and the things that we have to go through during the time of healing is very important for us as a people not to be too harsh. And then at the same time, let us be willing to forgive.
Sure.
Sometimes it's not as easy as said, but if we want Abba Yahuwah to forgive us, then it's important that we also be willing to forgive.
Right.
And that's important. We have to forgive. And you pray relationships will be amended, and you don't want them to go back to the way they were. You want them to be better. You want it to go back. You want it to be better. Are you following me?
Yes.
I'm sure in a million years, even though the way he carried himself, he didn't think that his brothers would ever do him like that. And I'm sure they probably thinking in their mind, we would never be put in this position. But, one thing about life is the more we go through life, the more we're going to experience things. And there are some things that, we truly do things out of our emotions. We get emotional, and this is not a woman's thing. You have men that be emotional, so it's an emotional thing. But the thing of it is, like you say, forgive and be willing to deal, and not, the saying is, deal with them with a what? Long-handled spoon. That's not right. That don't mean we got to be in each other's face all the time either, but we definitely don't want to be dealing with each other with a long-handled spoon.
That's right.
Because I feed you from a distance, stay back over there and we can deal. Now, I'll let you be up near me, but, we going to deal with each other, but we're going to deal with each other from a place of understanding. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Excuse me. And so it goes on. And so verse 27, and he asked them of their welfare and said, "Is your Abba well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he yet alive?" And they said, "The servant our Abba is well." He said, "Yes." And he lifted up his eyes and saw Benjamin, his brother, his mother's son, and said, "Is your youngest brother of whom you spoke unto me?" And he said, "Yahuwah be merciful unto thee, my son." And Joseph made haste, for his heart yearned toward his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and he wept there. Now you have to understand, we're not just talking about crying. We're talking about that hard down boo-hooing, where your heart just feels like it just, it's just so overwhelming. It just can't take no more. Not that you're going to die, but it's just so overwhelming. Are you hearing me? To where you just feel like, if I don't move and just go take a breather and get this out of me now, I ain't gonna be able to hardly talk. I'm swallowing tears, and and so one thing about it, tears are not a symbol of weakness.
Right.
They're actually a symbol of strength. They are, and there are times that you cry and people think, "Oh, they weak." No, don't count that as weakness. Count that as strength. Very very important for us to understand. And he washed his face and came out, and he refrained himself and said, "Set on bread." And so he had to, because you have to understand, here it is after all these years, he's finally getting a chance to meet with his brothers. He's finally getting a chance to meet with them after all this time. And they are, I'm sure he looked in their faces and saw they were remorseful and saw that they were, really sorry for what they had done. And if they could possibly change it, they would change it. And so it's important that we understand there are things that we do at times. And like I say, I will never say I'm perfect, and I will never say, we are perfect. There are things that we have done. I can say personally, I have done that I regret. Mm-hmm. You follow what I'm saying? But the thing of it is that we have to understand these things come about when we are not grounded. Yeah. When we're not grounded. And if it happens, we repent. Don't beat ourselves up, but learn from it and keep on moving. Yeah. And don't let the enemy catch you up in that same trap again. Mm-hmm. Know him. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
We have to know the ways and the devices of Shaitan. Verse 32, and they set on for him by himself, for them by themselves, and for the Mitzrayim that did eat with him by themselves, because the Mitzrayim might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for this is an abomination unto the Mitzrayim. Are you hearing?
Yes.
And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one with another, and the portions were taken unto them from before him. But Benjamin's portion was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. You have to understand, that's a lot. Now, he probably didn't give them no small portions, but 5 times their portions, you have to understand that's a lot. Right. Are you hearing me? And he set them up in that position so that he had each one, oldest on one side and the youngest on the other side. And so once again, when you're dealing with these types of things, family issues, it is important that we deal with them, and we deal with them from the root cause, and pray that healing takes place and we're able to move on from it. This is another important thing for us as the children of Yahshua, because until healing takes place inward, it cannot take place outward. Right. And until the mishpachos are healed, then the nation will not be able to really walk in the health and in the wholesomeness and walk in true healing. Because if I'm broken and I'm a part of the nation, then guess what? I'm going to continue to be broken, and it's just going to continue to perpetuate brokenness. Right. Once again, broken people can't heal people. Right. Only people that are healed and whole can bring wholesomeness and wholeness to a person. Right. And so it's important that we understand that it is time that we come into that place and walk in wholeness. Mm-hmm. And he was in a position to do this. And so once again, excuse me, we have to look at these things from this perspective. Let's look at chapter 44, and we only have 17 verses. So let's finish out chapter 44. And we're going to read to verse 17. So let's begin and let's read 9 verses, please. Chapter 44. Verse 1. Let's read 9 because we only have 17.
Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Mm-hmm. Fill the men's sacks with much food, with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put in my cup the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, why have you repaid great with evil? Isn't the cup of my master's drink isn't this cup the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing that you have done." When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them, but they said to him, Why does my master say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouth of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my master's slaves.
And it is so. Now, once again, here we see Joseph doing what he did. Now, he said, as much as they can carry, more than their money's worth. Now, mind you, they all went back with how much? Remember 90. They had 90 pieces of silver apiece. 90, which altogether made what? 900. Because I don't believe Benjamin took any. It was just those that took. So they had that. Now he says, give them more than their money's worth. Do you know how much stuff they had to take back? They had a lot to take back. They had a whole lot. Put every man's money in his sack's mouth with their knowledge as reparation for his harsh treatment of them on their first arrival. So he gives it back to them. He gives it right back to them. And so, excuse me, once again, they are able to get it back. Now, the youngest, his purpose was to see whether they would attempt to deliver him. He did not want to make them suffer still further, but was afraid to let Benjamin go home with them, lest their jealousy would break out again, since now he was their Abba's favorite. Or perhaps they suspected or knew the truth about Joseph's treatment by them. So you have to understand, the question would be, well, why is he giving him so much and he's only giving us, these portions? But you have to understand, I'm inclined to believe at that point in time, their mind really was not focused on that. Their mind was like, let's get what we got to get and let's bounce. Let's get out of this situation and let's make sure we get Benjamin home. So there are times that we are not even focusing on certain things that are before us, because our number one goal is to get what we came for and let's leave here in shalom. Because we already know that our Abba is at home, and he's already said if he does not come back with us, he's just going to die. Right. So you have to understand, they're on pins and needles at this time. Right. And this is a situation that now they're understanding we got to use wisdom. We have to use wisdom. Have you ever felt a time in your life where can wisdom be practiced in a situation like this? Because we've exhausted our means and our understanding of this situation. Why is this man being rough with us, and why is he picking on us? We don't know what else to do but to comply with everything that he has put before us. Right. Are you following me?
Yes.
Once again, it's very important, excuse me, for us to see these things that are taking place. And so here it is. Now let's look at this when it talks about the cup of divination. This is important. I'm going to read it from two places. It says the idea that a cup was used for divination suggests that divination took place by observing liquid poured into the cup, either the shape of the oil on water or the ripples of the water, to name a few techniques known from Mesopotamia. Little is known of these techniques in Mitzrayim practice. Divination was a means by acquiring information. It is of interest that Joseph acquires information by means of the cup, not by pouring liquid into it, but by using it to test his brothers, thus using observation at different levels. So he was not himself using the cup to look in it to use divination in the cup, but he was using it basically before them so that they would believe that this was a tool. Remember, he told them that he feared power. Mm-hmm. He told him, he said, no, I fear power. So he was letting them know at the beginning, I might be in this, but it ain't in me. Are you hearing me? This is my job. This is what I am called to do. And this is what I'm going to do. And because of my position, this is how I have to govern myself. Right. So this is what he had to do. And so this is another important thing. Once again, as I said in the beginning, just because we are given a position, understand the reason why you are given that position. It is not for you to defect and change who you are. It is for you to do what you did in the beginning to get that position. That's right. If you got that position, it is because they saw the power, the wisdom, the integrity, and the knowledge of Abba Yahuwah being expressed through your life and through you being able to bring a resolution or an answer to a problem that they could not find anywhere else.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This is very important for us to understand. Why? Because many times we think that, okay, I dress like them. And because I dress like them and I do this, then now, I got to do it like they do. If they could get the answer by doing what they did, then they would never have to call upon us.
Right.
This is why it's important that we never lose our identity and our relationship with the Abba. Never, ever. Why? Because you have to understand, just because you put the tie on, just because I wear a suit, hear me well, because I do like still wearing my suits, and I have to go somewhere, doesn't mean that now I become what other people believe when you put a suit on, you become. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
No, I am the vessel that Abba Yahuwah has chosen. But if I have to go somewhere and represent and do something, and this is the attire, are y'all following me?
Yes.
Then I must wear that attire. But watch this. That what they're getting out of me is what Abba Yahuwah has put in me. And if I have to wear that attire, then guess what? They're going to get what they asked of me. And I'm not going to change. Are you following me? So you have to understand, everybody in Mitzrayim knew that Joseph served Abba Yahuwah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that the answer and the resolution to their problems came because he was living according to the standards and to the statutes of Abba Yahuwah. That's why.
That's right.
So we can't afford to turn around and be saying, well, I got to wear this, I got to do what they say do. He told me, he said, no, he said, you do whatever. He said, and he told all of them, whatever he tells you to do, that is what you do.
That's right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
He said he has the authority. You do that. That's how we get results. We don't get results by now doing this and wearing this and becoming them. So he was just using it as a means to get to them. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Now, the other explanation, some explain that he pretended to obtain his knowledge on various matters through divination, and that's what he did. Others that he pretended that such a wise man as he could divine by means of the cup who had stolen it, whereby he intended or indeed trieth you. He intentionally placed the cup before you to see whether you would take it. He would make divination on account of it. That is, he would certainly ask the diviners who had stolen it, and that is how he knows that you are the culprits. So he basically set them up. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
He set them up. And this was his way really to keep them from leaving so that he would get a chance to do what he needed to do. Because if they would have left, he probably wouldn't have never had the opportunity to deal with Benjamin again. Because once they probably did say, no, he's not going back, and we probably won't go back either. Because we don't want that. That's too close for close for comfort. That's too close of a call. So once again, understanding that he did not use this for that reason. And so we have to be careful of the things that we do. Is this a rule or is this an exception? I say this is an exception and not a rule. And we should never play or do things of that. Are you following me?
Yes.
Especially if we're not skilled in doing these type of things. Very important that we don't do that. Why? Because it could really go wrong. Once again, just because something is an exception doesn't mean that we make it now a rule and that we do these practices so that we can get those results. You can't do that, because if that is not given to you to do, then don't make it a rule. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand, because you can hurt yourself and someone else. All right, let's finish reading, please.
And he said,
Excuse me.
now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and you shall be blameless. Then they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes, and laded every man his donkey, and returned to the city. And Yehuda and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there. And they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, What deed is this that you have done? What not that such a man as I certainly divine? And Yehuda said, What shall we say unto you, my power? What shall we speak, or how shall we clear out ourselves? Yehuda has found out the iniquity of the servants.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, we are our master's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found. And he said, Yehuda forbid that I should do so. But the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace under your olive. And it is so.
And it is so. So now you know they about ready to pass out, probably about had a heart attack 3 or 4 times over, because they're trying to figure out, excuse me, why is this coming unto us? And he said, now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my bondman, and you shall be blameless. Then they hastened and took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, beginning at the eldest and leaving off at the youngest. Remember, even at the setting, how the eldest was on one side, and it came around almost looking like a smile, and then Benjamin was on the other side, and the goblet was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes and laid it every man his ass, and returned to the city. They put it all back. Now you have to understand, they was out there having fits, because it's like, what is going on? This can't be happening. What is going on? Why would this happen to us? Why would this at this point be taking place in our lives? And it says, and Yehuda and his brethren came to Joseph's house, and he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. Here it is again, that they are what? Bowing before him. Bowing before him. Because now they are at a point where they're saying, look, we got to, this can't be happening. We cannot go back home without him. Now we could say, well, Joseph orchestrated this in order for them to bow down before him. If he hadn't done that, would they have bowed down before him? Something to think about, isn't it? Yes. And Joseph said unto them, What deed is this that you have done? Know ye not that such a man as I will indeed divine? And Yehuda said, What shall we say unto our master? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? He said, How can we clear this? In other words, because if you notice, Yehuda he's very outspoken. Mm-hmm. He said, how are we supposed to clear this? You were right here with us. In other words, how are we going to get that cup and he going to put it in his sack? You follow what I'm saying? Yes. So it's kind of like he said, come on now, you got to understand there's something else that has to be going on with this right here. And Yahuwah hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are our master's bondmen, but both we and he also in whose hand the cup is found. He's saying, look, he's found our iniquity out. He realized, okay, now we know all this stuff is happening to us because of what we've done. Are y'all following me? Yes. Regardless if it happens this way or another way, the saying is in the writings, your sins will find you out. Right. They will find you out. I don't care if they find you out today, tomorrow, years from now, they will find you out. Right. They'll find you out. And it is important that we repent, because once you repent, then you don't have to worry about something coming back and biting you. Mm-hmm. Because repentance is what changes all that. It changes that. Now, there are some things, listen to me well, that you will still suffer if you go and do it. Let me give you an example. If you go out there and you go and you get into a relationship and you sleep with somebody and a baby comes about, baby's life itself is not punishment. But you're going to deal with that because this is the results of your actions or the consequences of your actions. Life is I will never say life is a mistake. But I will say this, if you do it outside of the will of Abba Yahuwah, it sure as hell will be very challenging. Yes. It will be. Because now life is not going to be, what you thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And this is important for us to understand. And so you have to understand, they realize everything that they did from that one choice to sell him. They wanted to kill him. But by selling him, they still did that which was not, supposed to be done. You don't sell family members. Are you hearing me? We kid about it and say, "You don't make me sell you. Don't make me sell you. Don't make me put you up for sale. I'm gonna put you up on eBay. I'm gonna put you up here." We're just kidding. But they sold him. They sold him into slavery. They sold him. And so with that being said, even though we know that the will of Abba Yahuwah still came out right.
Right.
But you never get to a point where you get so angry with the sibling. You never get to a point where you get so frustrated with a family member that you are ready to go. If you can't kill them, you are ready to send them to the farthest, remotest place on the face of this earth to get them from your surrounding and to get them away from you and from the one that harms them the most. You never resort to that, because no matter what you do, you're going to have to carry that in your heart, and you're going to have to carry that punishment with you.
Right.
You're going to carry it. I don't care if it's guilt, remorse, it's going to eat you up. And every time you find yourself in a situation or dealing with someone that reminds you of this, you're going to always feel that little twinge there. This is why it is important that we never, ever hold grudges. Repent, get it right, and move on. And as I said before, as great as Yaakov was, he had family issues. Many times we don't like to deal with. They are, in my opinion, the greatest example of family issues and being able to deal with them. Animosity, anger, resentment, hurt, rejection. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Lying, being lied on. They are the epitome of our example of what not to become,
Right.
but also of what to become when it gets to the climax and being able to repent and get it right. Verse 17, he said, "Far be it from me that I should do so. The man in whose hand the goblet is found, he shall be my bondman. But as for you, get you up in shalom unto your Abba." You have to understand, he was adamant about what he was doing. Was he teaching them a lesson? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because no matter how we may look and say, we older now, we've learned our lessons. There are some things we won't learn until we go through it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Keep on counting until we've learned it that many times. Until we bump our heads more than one time, sometime we will never learn the principle and the lesson from certain things.
Right.
So I want to say to you on this young, keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong. At this time, we're going to break for our time of lunch, and we will be back at 7:45 to continue the conclusion of this matter. Once again, think about it. Think about the things that you may have done. Think about the things that were done to you. And think about really asking yourself, did I let that go? Did I really put that in the hands of Abba Yahuwah? Or am I still holding on to those grudges? Am I still holding on to unforgiveness? Am I still holding on to resentment? Is animosity in my heart? Why do we need to look at these things, y'all? Because we've got Pesach coming up.
Right.
Passover is coming up. And it is right around the corner. And we need to deal with these issues. Some issues are not as easy to get over. Mm-hmm. And so now we have time. We have time to ask Abba Yahuwah, take it out of me so that I can be able to function and do what I need to do to serve you and to please you, and to not walk around and have animosity and bitterness and hatred harboring in my heart. Once again, we will come back at 7:45. I pray you will come back and be with us as we continue with the conclusion of this matter. Once again, I want you to remain encouraged. Keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when you keep him first. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Brave Belief Ministries located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Brave Belief Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah continue to baruch you and keep you in his shalom. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.